Friends, gather round because we need to talk about Trump's latest brainchild, the ERS. No, not the sound a dying walrus makes, it stands for the External Revenue Service. Yes, another one. Apparently the IRS wasn't cutting it for him. This new agency has one job: to rake in cash from foreign countries through tariffs, duties, you name it. It's all part of his Grand Save America plan, which, let's be honest, sounds more like a desperate plea scrawled on the back of a casino napkin than a coherent economic policy. Now you might be thinking, wait, don't we already have people who collect tariffs? And you'd be right. We have the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, a perfectly capable agency that's been doing this since, well, forever. But why have one group of people collecting money when you can have two? That's efficiency, folks. Or at least, that's what Trump seems to think. But here's the kicker. The ERS is supposed to be part of Trump's plan to shrink the government. You see, he's also created this thing called the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, as if it's some kind of meme come to life. And who did he put in charge of streamlining the government? Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, two guys known for, let's just say, their unconventional approaches. It's like putting a raccoon in charge of a china shop, except the raccoon is also trying to build a rocket to Mars while live tweeting the whole thing. So, we've got a new agency designed to collect more money, led by people who are supposed to be shrinking the government. Does anyone else feel a slight disconnect here? It's like watching a dog chase its own tail, except the dog is on fire and the tail is made of money. Mark your calendars, folks, because Trump's planning to unleash the ERS on January 20th, 2025. Coincidence? I think not. That just happens to be when his potential, and I use that word very loosely, second term would begin. It's almost as if he's trying to cement his legacy, not with, actual accomplishments, but with a brand new bureaucracy that has Trump stamped all over it. And speaking of Trump's stamp of approval, let's talk about the dream team he's assembled to lead this whole shebang. As I mentioned, Musk and Ramaswamy are heading up DOGE, which somehow oversees the ERS. Now, I'm no organizational genius, but shouldn't the agency in charge of efficiency be, well, efficient? Having one agency oversee another that's supposed to be streamlined seems about as logical as hiring a fox to guard the henhouse. But hey, who am I to question the organizational prowess of a man who once suggested nuking hurricanes? Maybe this is all part of his master plan, a plan so cunning, so devious, that only a stable genius like himself could conceive of it. Or maybe, just maybe, it's another example of Trump throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks. Either way, it's the American people who are left to clean up the mess. Okay folks, buckle up, because it's about to get tariff-ying. Trump's grand plan for the ERS involves slapping massive tariffs on pretty much everything that isn't nailed down. We're talking 25% on goods from our supposed allies like Canada and Mexico. China? Forget about it. He's floated the idea of a 60% tariff on their goods. And it doesn't stop there. He's also suggested a blanket 20% tariff on all imports and a 100% fee on Chinese goods. It's like he's playing tariff roulette, spinning the wheel and slapping a random percentage on whatever country pops up. Now, I'm no economist, but even I can tell you that slapping huge tariffs on everything is about as effective as trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Sure, you might raise some revenue in the short term, but in the long run you're just going to end up with a bigger mess. See, those tariffs? They get passed down to consumers, which means higher prices for everything from cars to clothes to that little plastic doodad you didn't even know you needed. And what does Trump think all this tariffing will achieve? Well, according to him, it's going to lower food prices, reduce inflation, and magically erase the national deficit. It's like he's discovered some kind of economic perpetual motion machine, except instead of violating the laws of physics, it just violates the laws of common sense. So we've got this brand new agency, the ERS, tasked with collecting tariffs and generally shaking down our international trading partners. But there's just one tiny problem. We already have an agency that does that. It's called the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, or CBP for short. They've been collecting tariffs, duties, and other assorted fees since the dawn of time, or at least since 1789. But hey, who needs experience and expertise when you can have redundancy and confusion? You see, it's not entirely clear what the ERS is supposed to do that the CBP isn't already doing. Will they be working together? Will they be competing? Will they be engaged in some kind of bureaucratic turf war fighting over who gets to collect the most tariffs? Your guess is as good as mine. And to make matters even more confusing, Congress hasn't actually approved the creation of the ERS. Sure, the Republicans currently control both houses, but even they might balk at the idea of creating a whole new agency just to satisfy Trump's tariff obsession. But hey, why let a little thing like congressional approval get in the way? Trump's already hinted that he might just create the ERS via executive order, because who needs checks and balances when you've got a Sharpie and a phone? It's enough to make your head spin. And just when you think it can't get any weirder, remember that this is all happening under the watchful eye of DOGE, the agency tasked with reducing government bureaucracy. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion, except the car is on fire, and the driver is a reality TV star with a penchant for tariffs. Gap 1S. Let's explore the economic impacts of the ERS tax plan on small businesses and middle-class families. This new tax plan, designed to levy additional tariffs on imports, could have significant consequences. Gap 2S. Small businesses, which often rely on imported goods, could see a rise in expenses. Nearly 50% of small businesses import some or all of their products. Higher tariffs might lead to increased costs, which could be passed on to consumers. Gap 2S. Dr. Jane Smith, an economist, explains, small businesses operate on thin margins. Any increase in costs can severely impact their profitability. This could lead to higher prices for consumers and even business closures. Gap 2S. Now, let's consider middle-class families. Increased costs of goods might mean families spend more on everyday items. The average household could see annual expenses rise by approximately $500. For families living paycheck to paycheck, this could mean cutting back on essentials. Gap 2S. To sum it up, while the ERS tax plan aims to bolster domestic industries, the ripple effects on small businesses and middle-class families could be profound. Higher costs for businesses could lead to higher prices for consumers, slowing down economic growth. Gap 2S. Stay tuned for updates on this unfolding story. Gap 1S. Now let's shift our focus to the political implications of the ERS tax plan. This ambitious proposal has sparked intense debate among political leaders, setting the stage for a high-stakes showdown in the upcoming elections. Gap 2S. The ERS party defends the tax plan as a measure to protect domestic industries and reduce dependency on foreign imports. They argue that the tariffs will create jobs and stimulate economic growth within the country. Gap 2S. However, opposition parties claim the tariffs will disproportionately affect small businesses and middle-class families. They argue that the plan is short-sighted and could lead to economic instability. Gap 2S. The centrist coalition calls for modifications to mitigate its negative impact on vulnerable sectors. They propose targeted subsidies and support measures for small businesses and middle-class families. Gap 2S. As the debate rages on, the political landscape is becoming increasingly polarized. With elections on the horizon, the ERS tax plan is poised to be a central issue. The outcome of this debate could significantly influence the political climate and future economic policies. Gap 2S. Stay tuned for more updates as we analyze the evolving political dynamics and their implications for the future.